Coming up on Arlington Public News, what is it like to be rescued from frigid waters after falling through the ice in brutal cold temperatures? Just 1 week after a man survived falling through the ice at Spy Pond, APN's Brenda Mahoney finds out firsthand what rescuers must do to save lives. One area organization with a new Arlington address is expanding to deliver nutritious food, roughly 500,000 pounds of food a year, to places like senior centers and after-school programs. Even though the season of giving ended last month, hunger does not take a holiday. We'll tell you how you can help. And area students tackle the issue of immigration through the art of film. What difficulties do immigrants face trying to make a new life for themselves in the midst of a political battle? Young filmmakers trying to create a bridge while others talk of a wall. Arlington Public News is next.
Hello, I'm Brenda Mahoney.
And I'm Paul Werlin. Last week we told you about a 68-year-old man who fell through the ice while skating at Spy Pond.
He was rescued and hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. But just how does the Arlington Fire Department save someone from the icy waters? Well, I got a close-up look at the vigorous training exercises these brave rescuers undergo. And when they were inviting so-called victims to rescue, I found myself jumping in. On a clear, calm winter day at Spy Pond, if it's quiet enough, you can hear it. The sound of ice expanding. Mother Nature's warning to stay off, that the ice is turning back to water. But if you do go out and fall through like a man did earlier this January, the Arlington Fire Department is ready.
It was the same crew that trained Monday morning are the ones who made the save. That's the importance of training, so that you're not thinking too much. It's kind of just do it automatically. The adrenaline hits and you don't have to think too much, you can just react. Good, good, good.
The essential skills firefighters learned working in tandem. Their new pontoon sled, rescuer, and pull team as one.
Each rope has two carabiners. The big one goes onto the sled itself. The smaller one goes onto the rescuer. We had a different type of sled. It wasn't a pontoon system. It didn't disperse the weight as much. It was just a smaller sled that we would use with ice picks. So this is a much better system, much quicker.
A $3,600 purchase last year that allows a single firefighter, protected by a wetsuit that also keeps you afloat, to head safely to the victim. In this case, played by myself. Pulled out by the arms and placed face down, secured to the sled, riding somewhat uncomfortably, but safely back to land. Okay, so that was a quick rescue here by the Arlington Fire Department on Spy Pond. Obviously, a real victim wouldn't have one of these suits on, but what they're learning today is essential to helping any victim.
In under a few minutes, things wouldn't go too well. Hypothermia, they'd be in real trouble. You know, everything would freeze up and you wouldn't be able to move your limbs. And so it's important to get down here and get them out in under 5-10 minutes.
Passerby Ann Jochnick out walking with her dog Keto, impressed by the efforts.
I think it's so wonderful that they're out here doing this and that they're prepared like this. It's really great. And also the commitment of the town to have this equipment and the training, and it's so important.
By the way, the Arlington Fire Department will rescue pooches and other animals, in addition to people, but prefer not to rescue anyone at all.
We're never going to tell you that the pond is safe to skate on and to be on.
Instead, try the new outdoor rink at Poets Corner. Check arlingtonrec.com for hours. If you do take to the open waters, look for a depth of 4 inches or more. You can see by the cracks. And if you do get in trouble, call for help. The Arlington Fire Department is ready. Well, I'd really like to thank the Arlington Fire Department for inviting me to videotape and for encouraging me to go ahead and give it a try myself. So I'm glad I did it, and I'd like to thank everyone who helped me out there.
Well, Brenda, I think you were really brave to do that. I don't know if I'd be as brave as you, but I commend you for doing that. That's a great story. Thanks for bringing that to us.
Thanks. The suit really keeps you nice and warm and quite dry, and you float too.
I hope so. I hope so. Arlington got its first taste of winter early this week with a vengeance. After enduring roughly 6 inches of snow over the weekend, nature topped off the storm with a flash freeze. An icy mix of sleet and freezing rain, together with brutal single-digit temperatures, formed a glaze over streets, sidewalks, and parking lots. Public Works crews were out 24/7 along Mass Ave and around schools, slowly clearing away snow and ice. They got help later in the week with warmer temperatures and heavy rainfall, which melted much of the snow and ice. but set the scene for flooding in low-lying areas, and in some places, very high winds. For those keeping score, it's only 8 more weeks until spring.
Arlington Select Board unanimously approves its commitment to the 2019 debt exclusion and operating override. The board confirming that commitment at its January 23rd meeting. The debt exclusion supports the rebuilding of Arlington High School. The override covers town operating expenses. Select Board Chair Dan Dunn says these commitments with respect to the override are necessary to navigate through uncertain economic times, and that is something that should be embraced.
And I'm reminding everybody that in 2005 we promised not to seek an override for 5 years, and it was 6 until the next was proposed. In 2011, the town promised not to seek an override for 3 years, and it's been 8 without an override. And then every year, every time we've put those overrides before the town, we've made a series of commitments to the voters at the same time. And I'm saying that we will work this winter to finalize a new list of commitments. The list will include commitment not to ask for another override for a specific number of years, whether it's 3, 4, or 5, but I've already, as you know, I'm leaning towards 4. A commitment to limit increases in spending, so that's talking about, for instance, the 3.5% that Adam just talked about in terms of the school and 7% in special ed. Like we should update or reaffirm whatever all of those commitments. And I think that there's a general, in the past we've said we would increase a certain amount for roads and we increase a certain amount for school budget. And I think that the other commitment to service levels as possible, but part of what we're saying is if we can't pay for it, we're going to cut services. Like that's part of what this commitment is.
Well, no word on precise dollar figures yet. A public vote initially set for June 8th is now scheduled to take place Tuesday, June 11th. The ballot measure is expected to be formally voted on at town meeting in April.
Arlington celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday at Town Hall earlier this week. Despite the brutal cold temperatures, Town Hall was nearly packed with celebrants honoring King's legacy of unity and peace. Author and surgeon Anika Williams was the keynote speaker. Audience members were treated to inspirational music by the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Chorale. 56 years since Dr. King's dream, people of color, women, poor people, and immigrants are still suffering the pains of rejection in ways that will take years of community building. But Ms. Williams says it's a dream that still needs to be fulfilled.
I am extremely, as I said, honored to be here today and to be in this space where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and my name are being mentioned together as people who have a belief that they are trying to make a difference in the world, that they care about people, and that they approach life from a perspective of positivity and joy where there are no limits to what we can accomplish.
A celebration of Dr. King's dream on what would have been his 90th birthday, embracing equality and diversity in our communities and around the world.
As the immigration debate rages on nationwide, Arlington's Center for the Arts and the Arlington International Film Festival are trying to unite Americans on this hot-button issue.
For 5 years, 800,000 undocumented young people have been able to live in the USA without fear of deportation, thanks to DACA.
You're looking at Undocumentary, one of 3 films presented this week by area students at the ACA. The short films tell immigrant stories in the Boston area and the difficulties they face trying to make a new life for themselves in the face of so much adversity. Among the issues covered, the rolling back of government programs to curtail immigration. In the midst of a very divided nation on this issue, the refreshing art of film helps us take a much closer look at ourselves as Americans.
You know, I feel like what artists can do for us is really help us think more broadly, more deeply, to feel into the experiences of other people and other cultures. And through the mediums of film and theater and music and the visual arts, I feel like over the last couple of months, the Art Center has really been able to shine a light, give some new perspective, give some, new stuff to be thinking about for all of us as we engage every night, turn on the news, and it's just so challenging and so contentious, and everything feels so divided and broken. But what I see as the artists come together and really talk and reflect and share their work, there's so much positive, there's so much good, and the artists really have helped us to see that.
And the films that we are going to show us represent the students that are involved with the community and they care about the issues like this. Immigration is a huge issue. We don't need walls, we need real immigration policies.
The celebration of film is part of an ongoing migration series at the ACA that we first told you about last week.
And yet another Arlington event dedicated to the visual arts, this time right here in Studio A. This week, ACMi held a Young Filmmakers panel discussion where aspiring filmmakers shared their journeys in filmmaking and gave candid accounts of this rewarding process, from the initial idea to the end credits. One filmmaker is 22-year-old Jasper Hamilton of Arlington. He just completed his third film entitled Cody's House and is hoping to make it to several film festivals this year. He says, if you want to be a filmmaker, make it happen.
Because I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. Like, since I was like 11, I saw Psycho, and that was it. It's movies, man. And my favorite, like, Werner Herzog quote, right? I don't know the actual quote, but he says that filmmakers are thieves. And I think that, you know, they take the most precious things from life, you know, they just find the right little, you know, meshes of sound and vision and puts them together in this big, like, you know, very valuable thing that is a film, you know, and thinking about being a filmmaker as somebody that's stealing the things that I want to show to everyone else, or stealing the precious things in life.
Hamilton says a lot of his technical training took place right here at ACMi during his high school career. Look for one of these folks to be perhaps the next Spielberg, Foreman, Bigelow, or maybe even Hitchcock. And these young filmmakers, I give them a lot of credit.
Really impressed, and some of them having got their start right here.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up on the other side of the break, we just got through the holiday season, a festive time of gift giving, but many area residents need necessities like food year-round. We talked to one local organization that understands hunger never takes a holiday.
In sports action, the Spy Ponders have their eye on the playoffs. The sports update and more when we come back.
We all know how well meat and vegetables go together in a meal. But before he cooked for his family, Terrence had to be careful to keep his lettuce and pork chops separate. Why? Because harmful bacteria from the raw meat can cross-contaminate other foods and may make those eating it very sick. If Terrence had forgotten to bring separate bags for his meat and produce at the grocery store, any bacteria from the pork chops could have cross-contaminated the head of lettuce. These bacteria can come from the juices of raw meat, or even just the products or product packaging touching when no visible juices are present. Fortunately, Terrence kept his raw meat and produce separated. But his food isn't out of danger yet. Cross-contamination can also happen in his refrigerator. But Terrence remembered to keep his raw meat and vegetables separate. More cross-contamination avoided. Terrence must be very careful when cutting his meat because, though he can't see it, there could be bacteria on this pork. He can spread this bacteria from the meat to his utensils, his vegetables, and his kitchen towel. If he does not wash his hands well after touching the meat, cross-contamination is far more likely. But fortunately for his family, Terrence was careful. Terrence washes his hands with soap and warm water for 20 seconds after handling the pork. He also washes the cutting board and utensils. He keeps his vegetables separate from his raw meat, and he's careful to keep the cutting board and utensils used for the meat away from his raw vegetables. All Terrence has to do now is use a food thermometer to be sure that his meat is safely cooked. The pork's internal temperature is safe at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. All whole cuts of pork, beef, and lamb require a 3-minute rest time before they're safe to eat. During these 3 minutes after meat is removed from the heat source, its temperature remains constant or continues to rise, which destroys any remaining bacteria. Terrence was careful not to cross-contaminate his kitchen or food. And by cooking his meat to the proper temperature, he serves his family food that is safe to eat. He keeps the pork and lettuce separate during his prep, and now he can safely serve them together. For more information on how to prevent cross-contamination, visit foodsafety.gov.
Arlington police are still trying to find the motorist who hit a pedestrian on Mass Ave last week. It happened here at the crosswalk outside Trader Joe's Wednesday, January 16th. We're told the person hit suffered non-life-threatening injuries to the lower body. Police described the vehicle as a red 4x4, possibly a red Jeep or Range Rover. The motorist was heading east on Mass Ave and, according to witnesses, stopped at several locations in the area before leaving. Anyone with any information is asked to call Arlington Police Traffic Division at 781-316-3944. The holiday season of giving was last month.
But one Arlington organization is sending out a friendly reminder that there are those people who still go to bed hungry year-round. Foodlink just purchased a new home on Summer Street at the site of the former Napa Auto Parts store. Since its founding 7 years ago, this organization has grown to such an extent that it distributes 250 tons of donated fresh food a year, which is enough to prepare 400,000 nutritious meals. That's why this larger building is so critical to the cause. Foodlink has now grown to a staff of 3 with 200 area volunteers helping to deliver nutritious foods to 30 senior centers and housing facilities, homeless shelters, and after-school programs. But this time of the year, Foodlink still needs your help.
We do work 363 days a year, so hunger doesn't take a vacation, and we don't take a vacation except when the stores are closed. So we rescue food every day and we distribute food every day. You know, we take food directly to people where they live and work, go to school, congregate. So we're delivering food, say, to the seniors a couple times a week to different places each. So we need to pay for gas, you know, start with a new building, different funds like that so that we can continue what we do all the time. We collect about 1,500 pounds of food every morning and deliver that same food throughout the day.
People think about it in November and December of giving, but what people don't realize is that that's great and wonderful, but it's all the other months that people also need food, and nutritious food at that, not just calories. They need to have food that is dense in nutrients for their health, their well-being.
Foodlink serves 11 communities in the region from South Boston to Lawrence and Lowell. The Spy Ponders are now pushing for a position in the playoffs.
Here's Carlos Abreu with your sports update from Studio B.
Hello Arlington sports lovers, and welcome to another edition of your ACMi sports update. The girls and boys took on Reading Memorial on the basketball court over the weekend for an action-packed doubleheader. The girls couldn't come away with the win, but the boys managed to beat Reading by 3 points.
Swift, difficult shot, no. Rebound by Conway, stolen by Krause, around the back to McGilvery, he lays it up and in! What a play by Nick Corrales, the steal in the around-the-back pass. Sanella trying to answer with 3, no! And Arlington with the rebound, and now a little bit of a comfort zone for the Ponders, a 4-point lead with 2 minutes to go.
The boys also took a win against Cathedral High School this week. This marks the Spy Ponders' 49th consecutive regular season home win.
So the final game of this 4-game homestand will be Friday against Woburn High School. And Coach, kind of a lot at stake. You know, Woburn beat you guys early in the season. That's one of your 2 league losses. And also what will be on the line is a chance for the 50th consecutive win home regular season games. I think the team might be a little extra motivated for that game. Will they be?
Oh, yeah. I think, you know, it's anytime. We don't have too many home games. So I think to get to 50 wins, to get a little payback on Woburn, you know, and to get 1 game closer to the state tournament. You know, it's all about, you know, finishing strong, still competing for the league title. We're down a couple games to Belmont, trying to, you know, stay there, or try to, you know, hopefully, you know, they trip up somewhere, and then try to get seeding where we get, you know, home tournament games. So, you know, it's a huge game for us on Friday.
Both the girls and the boys will be home for another doubleheader this Friday. Taking a look over to the rank, the girls played Billerica this week. The Spy Ponders fought hard against young and fast Billerica team, but couldn't come away with the win.
Look at the Arlington girls hustling. I like what I'm seeing. And he'll shot on net.
Oh, another save by Sarah Noyes, and the Arlington girls crash the net, and it's a goal! Oh, it looks like it was, the loose puck was shot in by, it looked like it was Erica.
I eat my words on that one, Coach. The youngsters are getting it done.
It looks like it was Erica.
You can find both the girls and the boys back at Eddie Burns Arena this Saturday for an action-packed doubleheader against Wilmington. Finally, the boys swim team will compete at Bentley University for the Middlesex Boys League Championship next Wednesday, January 30th. If you can't make it, don't worry, ACMi will be there for more coverage. That's all we have for sports this week, but be sure to keep tuning into ACMi Sports for more coverage of your favorite young athletes.
And of course, stay with us for all your latest news and sports updates. That'll do it for us here in Studio A. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm Brenda Mahoney. See you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public. If you have any news tips for us here at Arlington Public News, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by the studio at 85 Park Avenue.